What's up, everybody? I'm Marcus.
I'm Ryan.
And together, we are the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Week 7 of the NFL and college season is in the books on the week 8 now. But we want to do a quick recap of our top standout players from week 7 in the NFL. I'm going to kick it off on the offensive side of the ball with the quarterbacks. Now, this guy you wouldn't expect to have a huge game like this, but he did. I'm talking about the Ginger. Andy Dalton out there, quarterback, Cincinnati Bengals. He had a huge game, 372 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 135 QB rating.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty good for you, Andy Dalton. I see you trying to take that next level, stepping your game up. You had a big win over the Lions out there on the road. So keep it up, Andy Dalton, and I salute you for the nice game you had. Next up, I usually don't like to shout out my own players, but hey, man, he showed me he's on his way back, and hopefully this is a sign of things to come. Mr. RG3. You get called RG3 this week because you had a good game.
No longer Bob.
Yeah, no longer Bob. You RG3 this week. 298 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. You did throw 1 pick, though, but then you made up for 84 yards rushing. Now, you led us to a shootout victory over the Bears, and the offense resembled what we was kind of expected coming into the year.
All
right. Next up, we're going to go to the ground and pound, the running backs. And this guy here, Ryan Matthews.
Right.
Wow, you had your game there, even though it was against Jacksonville.
Right.
But you still had a game, 21 carries, 110 yards, 1 touchdown. Now, you kind of got the bus label on there, though, for you, man. So how are you going to bounce back and have another game after the good, successful game? That's what we all want to see.
Yeah, one key thing also to mention real quick, he's the only running back in the NFL to have 2 back-to-back 100-yard games this season, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he is still kind of a buster, but he's starting to work his way. I mean, if he has a stat like that, I mean, that's pretty good.
We all know you got the talent, man. We watch the tapes, but can you stay healthy? Can you not fumble the ball? And can you do it consistently on a week-to-week basis?
Right.
All right, my next running back, I'm gonna go out to the Jets. Chris Avery, he played the workhorse there. 34 carries, 104 yards. You know, your yards per carry is kind of down, but you was the workhorse, man. And the upset win over New England, which nobody really gave y'all a chance. So I gotta salute you on the nice game you had, Chris Avery. For my wideouts, I'm going to go to my second favorite receiver in the NFL right now. We always had this argument.
Right.
You go with Julio. I go with A.J. Green.
Right.
Had a nice game there, man. 8 receptions, 155 yards, 1 touchdown. Again, you are my number 2 receiver in the league. So keep that up, man. I like what you're doing out there. Shout out to A.J. Green. And the next wideout or / tight end, I want to give a shout out to. Again, I don't really like doing this, but you Jordan Reed,
right?
Rookie from the Washington Redskins from the University of Florida, 9 receptions, 134 yards and 1 touchdown. And what's amazing about that, you was targeted 9 times.
Yeah.
And you hauled in all 9 passes. So the rookie is out there putting in work, making us look like Fred Davis. Who?
Right.
You might be on your way out, Fred Davis, man. So shout out to Jordan Reed. Now those are my offensive players. Now what about on the defensive side of the ball this past week?
All right, on the defense side of the ball, first I want to start off with the Buffalo Bills and the Dolphins. So Bills squeaked out a nice little 2-point win, 23-21. But a big reason why they won is because Mario Williams. We kind of had him on the milk carton. How good is this player? Is he going to live up to the number 1 pick expectations? He had 3 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. Pretty solid game, one of the better ones.
That's nice.
Number 2 in sacks right now, 10.0 out of all NFL players. So that's very solid. He's tied with Justin Houston on Kansas City linebacker, so that's obviously respect. He's got 10 as well. Next, I want to go with the Kansas City Chiefs, right, and the Houston Texans. Both teams going in different directions. One team's winning, undefeated. The other team's sliding, losing games. But one consistent player for Kansas City, besides Houston, Tamba Hali.
Oh, yeah.
This guy might win the defensive MVP this year. Very, very possible. 5 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Seems like he's doing it every game, pretty much all season. And, he's number 3 in sacks. He's at 9, so he's only 1 behind, not too far. But one key stat I wanted to throw out for Kansas City's D while we're obviously talking right now, they're number 1 in a number of categories on defense.
Oh, yeah.
All right, since they're undefeated 7-0. Number 1 in points allowed, believe it or not, 11.6.
Wow.
11.6, wow. I mean, you were talking a touchdown and a field goal and maybe just a little extra right there, right?
It's hard out there.
Right, very hard out there. And number 2, takeaways. Number 1 in the league in takeaways, 19 at this point. We're only 7 games in.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And then the third number 1 category, that they're number 1 in sacks, 35. And we're only in 7 games in.
Yep.
So it's pretty amazing right there what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing. So shout out to Tom Bali. Keep it up. You're playing great. And last but not least, I got to go with the Colts. With the showcase game against the Broncos, if you didn't watch it, Colts squeaked out 39-33 win. Very exciting game, beginning to end. And the leader of their team, Robert O.G. Mathis, seems like we talk about him again every day. He's number 1 in sacks right now, 11.5, really playing well. 3 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. Seems like he's doing it every day, and they're making people say, Dwight who?
Yeah.
Dwight Freeney who? So keep it up, Robert Mathis. You're playing great, and Swaggy P, that's for you.
All right, Swaggy. Now, I just want to go over our Northwest Sports Fanatics power rankings in the NFL. Number 1, you're going to start off with the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, they're 7-0. Salute to them. Again, the 35 sacks that they have.
Right.
And they another thing is they haven't given up more than 17 points
all
year.
Unbelievable.
Wow, you think of some of the teams that they played,
right,
and they still haven't given up more than 17 points. Number 2, I got to go out to Seattle. We'll stay here in the Northwest.
Right.
Seattle Seahawks, 6-1. That's the first time in franchise history that they've been 6-1, and I do expect them to continue to roll. Number 3, Denver, you slid from the number 1 spot. You're still 6-1. The Colts kind of gave you the blueprint to beat the Broncos there. You got to get that pressure on, man, and make them uneasy.
Hold the wide receivers if you can.
Yeah, that also helps.
Yeah.
And number 4, down in New Orleans Saints, they 5-1. I expect them to go maybe at least 8-1 or 7-2 because they got 3 of their next 4 at home.
Right.
And they coming off a bye week, so Sean Payton and Drew Brees whooping up something down there. My 15, I'm gonna go with the Indianapolis Colts, 5-2 after the big win over the Broncos. But the key for me is Reggie Wayne.
Right.
He's out for the year with the torn ACL. They got a lot of young players and young receivers that's going to have to step up their game there. Now, that's our top 5 power rankings in the NFL. Now, what about the BCS? The BCS rankings came out this weekend.
Bowl Championship Series, or maybe we should say Bowl Crap Standings.
Yeah.
So we don't really know which one it is, but BCS, it just started. So we'll just break down the teams here real quick if you don't know what's going on right now. So number 1, Alabama.
Of course.
So obviously, roll tide. You already know Bama's good. 3 out of the last 4 championships. 7-0. They're dominating. They're going to make it probably to the Natty. And it's just whoever's going to play them. So they're still sitting there. Number 2 and number 3 is where the shakeup is.
All right.
So number 2, it's Florida State in the BCS.
Oh, famous.
Right. Famous Jameis, the best freshman QB in college football.
Yes, sir.
Maybe future number 1 pick in a
no
couple
doubt.
years. I mean, this guy is amazing. They had a nice upset win against Clemson, top 5 team in their house. Florida State was 5th. Clemson was 3rd. Florida State came in with confidence, stomped them by almost 40 points. So they have the number 2 ranking in the BCS. Now, Oregon has been sitting at number 2 in the AP and the USA Today poll. So a lot of Northwest fans were maybe thinking, well, what's going on here? But they do deserve to be at number 2 for now because we haven't played a lot of ranked opponents.
Of the strength of schedule, you got to look at that with the BCS.
Right, and we haven't played a top 10 really team. We have UW, but we still got our strength of our schedule coming up. So you understand that. Oregon, you are at number 3 in the BCS.
That's right.
So even though some people think we're maybe number 2, but don't worry. We got UCLA this weekend, Stanford coming up, a strong Oregon State team in the top 25. So if we take care of business, we'll get to that number 2 spot. So no worries there. Number 4, Ohio State, Urban Meyer. Now, some people say this team is overrated, right? But the thing is that even though they may be overrated, you are in the Big Ten. And you do have a few teams there, and you still got to do it week in and week out. So let's just wait until we get to Michigan at the end of the year, and let's see if what happens in that game before we crown anybody in that Big Ten conference. But it may be a little bit overrated at that spot, I would agree. And then number 5, a team that we wouldn't think we'd have said this 2-3 weeks ago, Missouri.
Oh.
So Mizzou.
Shout out to Mizzou, man. Right? I miss y'all down in Columbia.
Right. We haven't seen Mizzou be good, so maybe Jeremy Maclin back in the day when they had a few players. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So they're number 5, and they had their starting QB go out with an injury a couple weeks. But
James Franklin
went out. Right. So James Franklin, get well, but wow, you're still winning with the backup QB, and that defensive line, ferocious.
Yeah.
If you watch Mizzou football, their D is very very real this year.
And they made the jump from the Big 12 to the SEC, and it makes the accomplishment that they're doing right now more amazing.
Yeah, who would have thought A&M, right, and Missouri would go to the SEC with Georgia, right, Alabama, LSU, and you're dominating and winning. So shout out to you. I don't know how long Missouri will stay in the top 10, but for now, they're looking pretty solid. Number 6 is Stanford. So you had a loss. You're 6-1. You're the only team up there with one loss, right? You lost to Utah. No one thought you'd lose that game. But some people found maybe the blueprint, but you came back against UCLA this weekend, kind of punched him in the mouth, and you showed who was real boss there. So in the AP poll, they're number 8. So they're flip-flop right now with Baylor. But I think it's a legit spot. Stanford had a pretty tough schedule, and, they are legit.
I got the catch of the year, too.
Right, catch of the year, obviously, last weekend, if you saw that. And then we'll go through number 7, Miami Hurricanes.
Okay.
Nice.
The U.
The U,
Is
right?
the U back?
The U is back.
And the U back?
They're back, man.
Wow.
Right? So it used to be Florida. But they may be taking a step back, and now you got Florida State and Miami, kind of the 90s.
Yeah.
Bobby Bowden back in the day, Ken Dorsey, some of the old players that they used to have back there. Wow. So we'll see how far they can go. Are they a legit team in the top 10 for the rest of the year? I'm not sure. But as of right now, you got to give them a little respect.
Right.
So
they still got they got to play Florida State. So we'll see how for real the U is.
Right. But shout out to you to be out there in number 7, especially in the BCS rankings. Number 8 is Baylor. Again, they're number 8 in the BCS, right? And then they're number 6 in the AP. So some people think that they are better than maybe Stanford or Miami based on their record. They are undefeated, 6-0. They're putting up like 70 points a game.
When you're averaging 70 points a game, man, wow.
Right? You're just killing it out there. And you might not have the big RG3, Terrence Williams, big name player, but hey, you're winning games.
Right, but they're still getting it done.
Good coaching out there by Baylor. Number 9, Clemson. You did get punched in the mouth. You were, number 3 in the nation. You still deserve to be in the top 10, but it was a little reality check. Famous Jameis is the truth.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know it already, every Florida State game should be like an A&M game the rest of the year. You got to watch these QBs because they're going to be future stars on the next level on Sundays. And then last but not least, number 10, Texas Tech.
Who?
Texas Tech, right? Not Texas Longhorns, not Texas A&M. But Texas Tech, right? Believe it or not, and it's not like Cliff Kingsbury's going through that door, right? But they're 7-0.
Crabtree out there?
No Michael Crabtree out there. But hey, they're 7-0. Yeah. There's only 2 teams that have a loss in the top 10 in the BCS: Stanford and Clemson. But everyone else is undefeated. So keep playing well, and that's the first week of the BCS. Let's go shift over, obviously, to college football this weekend. Games to watch. We got a few nice ones to watch. First, Alabama. SEC matchup versus Tennessee.
Ooh.
Right?
Tennessee coming off that big win.
Right? Upset on Georgia.
Yeah.
Right? So confident at home. So Alabama's going to be wondering if, how hard they have to play for how many quarters. 1 quarter, 3 quarters. So we'll see if Tennessee can rise to that occasion and maybe pull off another upset. I kind of doubt it, but you never know. You never know in football. Next, NC State versus Florida State. That's going to be on at the same time, around noon, 12:30. ABC, Famous Jameis, like we were just mentioning, you got to watch this guy's ball skills. Teddy Bridgewater might get picked number 1 this year, but if you really go in the tape, Famous Jameis, if he came out this year as a freshman, it would be.
I don't know about Bridgewater, man. I'm kind of leaning Mariota over Bridgewater now.
Yeah, you just kind of have to wait and see. The competition, the strength of schedule with Louisville might be catching up to Bridgewater now. But NFL scouts are drooling over him. The only thing that we've seen that he's got a little problem with is maybe the deep ball, right, on certain throws, right, and footwork. Right, but that might get better. Look at Geno Smith, right? We criticize him, and he's playing pretty damn good right now. So shout out to him. Next game. We got Texas Tech and Oklahoma, right? So Texas Tech is 10th. Oklahoma is right out of the top 20 in number 15. And they're sitting there, the Sooners, number 15. Usually they're in the top 10. Yeah. So a little unusual, you know what I mean?
Sooners,
right? But we'll see how they play. And, they're well coached. Bob Stoops out there. And then South Carolina, number 21 versus number 5, Missouri. So this is a tough test to see Steve Spurrier coming in town with a lot of confidence and swagger, seeing if they can do the upset. And it wouldn't surprise me if South Carolina came out on top in that game. So we'll have to kind of see. But the showcase games, I'm not seeing if we're biased out here in the Pac-12. But the best games, I think, for this weekend are in the Pac-12.
Of course.
You got UCLA, right? Number 12 versus number 3, Oregon Ducks.
Okay.
Right? So we'll have to see how that goes. But I think people will be impressed after the game is over to show how dominant our home field advantage is here in Autzen and Eugene. And then after that game, is going to be number 6 Stanford versus number 25 Oregon State.
Ooh,
this is going to be a great game, right?
Yeah.
Great game. Best games of the weekend, those two. You got Sean Mannion leading the league in passing and touchdown passes. Brandon Cooks at wide receiver, going to be a next star on that Sunday level. Probably a 3rd, 4th, 5th round draft pick, unless he keeps playing better and better. But he's pacing for 15 touchdowns, and those are the 2 key matchups. So if you're going to watch some football, make sure you watch on Saturday. There's a few good matchups. What about Sunday? Is there any good matchups on Sunday?
We got a couple of good games coming up this Sunday. I'm going to start off with the Dallas Cowboys versus the Detroit Lions.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You know, Dez Bryant has been in the news lately talking about he's as good as Calvin Johnson.
Right.
But, you know, slow your roll there, Dez. You're not quite on that level yet. I'll give you a couple of more years.
He's on 2nd tier, I think, with AJ Green and Julio Jones. Though.
Okay, yeah, I can give you that, but hey, only few can do what Megatron can do, man.
Right.
But it should be an interesting game. You know, you got 2 gunslingers out there, Tony Romo, and you got Matthew Stafford. I expect a lot of points to be scored. Neither defense is kind of really all that good.
Right. Maybe in the 30s.
In the 30s, yeah. Yeah, so that's going to be a good shootout game for you to watch. Also, the Miami Dolphins versus New England Patriots. New England, Tom Brady coming off that loss there to the Jets.
Right.
So I expect them to bounce back at home. Another week for Big Gronk out there. Also, I want to see Tannehill and Mike Wallace finally get on sync.
Right.
And, you know, they paid you all this money, man. You need to put in that extra work.
Right.
So that's in AFC East division games, so it's going to be tough for the Patriots there. The Dolphins is not just going to lie down.
Especially when Brady's having a down year.
Yeah,
so these other teams are taking advantage and trying to find blueprints to beat them. So, I mean, upsets could happen.
And the final game, you know, I'm kind of a little biased here, but it does mean a lot. You know, the Washington Redskins versus the Denver Broncos.
Right.
This is Mike Shanahan's first trip back to Denver as a opposing coach.
Right.
You know, RG3 is playing a little bit better now. He's getting back to his old form. Washington scored 45 points last week, and you're going to have to score 45 if you're going to keep up with Denver. They're averaging 41 points a game.
Ridiculous.
Right now, you know, Denver's coming off their first loss of the season, so I expect them to be a little hungry there.
Yeah.
And
upsets could happen. It's the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody on any given Sunday.
All right. So there you have it. Our Week 7 reviews, BCS standings, upcoming games to watch. You can hit me up on Twitter, _NWSF.
And Orion_NWSF.
All right. Hit us up on Facebook.com/NW Sports Fanatics.
And we want to shout out our sponsors and all the people that are supporting us. Thank you very much. Share it to a friend. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the love and support. Also, follow us on Instagram @NW Sports Fanatics. Shout out to my man Banner Bob for the banner in the background. Hit him up at designshack.net. I'm Marcus. This is Orion. And together
we are Northwest Sports Fanatics.